but they're lazy and they don't learn how to do the test correctly, and they come away with 6.5, which is okay. But level 3, they should get band 8, 8.5. So if you're lazy and don't learn the format of the tests, you don't understand how you will be graded, you don't understand the timing and preparation, you will underperform. But if you study hard and you know the test really well, you can do a lot better than you expect. It's like I say, imagine if the Vietnamese football team went to the Southeast Asia Games or the World Cup, right? And they didn't learn the rules of football. It would be crazy, right? How can you play football if you don't know the rules of football? Same with IELTS, right? If you go to IELTS and you have no idea how Part 3 speaking works, your score is going to be lower. All right. Miss Lou, learning vocab. Don't learn vocab. Simply read about different subjects, listen to different subjects. So, for example, I sent a link to my level 2 students recently. It was I'll give you the channel. It's called Modern MBA on YouTube. It's Modern MBA on YouTube. And I sent them a great documentary about how steakhouses make their money. It's the business model about steakhouses, right? That's restaurants that sell steaks. And I told them, just watch this documentary with the subtitles in English. And my students came back to me. They said, Andy, we learned so many new words, phrases, adjectives, especially business words and formal English and academic English by watching this documentary. So the key for you guys is don't try to memorize vocabulary. Just learn about others through the English language. And this is why international school students do very well in IELTS. They don't learn English, they use English. They study geography, they study mathematics, they study chemistry, they study all their school subjects in English, but they don't learn English. They learn about the world through English. And the IELTS test is exactly the same. IELTS is not a pure English test. It is a university level entrance test of many different skills through English, but it's not an English test like TOEIC. All right. One more really quick question. Miss Anne says, speaking part 3 questions, I don't have any idea or knowledge for some questions. I'm going to talk about that in a few moments. Now, guys, I've answered 5 or 6 questions, but I do need to move forward with my main talk today, okay? Because we're already nearly halfway in. So, guys, let me share my screen with you. Let me close down my chat window. We're at 99. We're at 99 students now. We've reached the limit. Mr. Jin, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yeah, we're on 99. So Zoom says your meeting
Yeah,
capacity is now full. That means some students cannot come into the room,
yes,
sadly.
yes, it's correct.
We might have to inform them that
Yeah.
the limit for Zoom is 99 students.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, let me share my screen with you. Thank you very much for all your questions. If you joined late, guys, I'll add a few minutes on at the end. Guys, no more questions, please. Not for now, because I have to get to my main presentation, okay? I really want to answer your questions, but I do need to focus on my main topic for today. All right, guys? So let me share my screen with you, and we can have questions a little bit later, but I do need to focus on what we're doing today. All right, guys? So part 3 speaking is an academic discussion, excuse me, It's an academic discussion simulating what you would do with your professor at a university and other students, discussing academic or professional topics. It's different from part 1 and part 2, which are everyday English. Okay, and this is taken from our speaking and writing book. What I'm now going to do, guys, is I'm going to scroll down to our speaking part 3 section. All right. And I'm going to give you an introduction here to speaking part 3. Here it is, page 60 of our speaking and writing book. It says here, in this section of the IELTS exam, a candidate must be prepared to answer questions about a variety of contemporary issues, sharing your personal opinion. All right. As I said, politics, environment, education, finance, health, history, entertainment, culture, society, and science. So, number one tip for the student who asked, how do I get knowledge? Okay. Number one, read a good newspaper, VN Express International. It's free every single day. Read about the global news every day. Also, watch documentaries on YouTube. Modern MBA, for example. There are lots of documentary channels on YouTube that have documentaries about everything: history, geography, engineering, culture, you name it. Run those documentaries, guys. And as I said, don't try to learn English. Learn about the world around you through English. When you watch a documentary, have those subtitles on. I've, as I said, been a teacher at KTDC for over 12 years. All my top students, when I say top students, I mean band 8, 8.5, 7.5. Those students watch a documentary every single day and they tell me about it. They say, Andy, I saw a really cool documentary about the Vikings. I saw a wonderful documentary about the development of trains in the 20th century and high-speed trains, and I learned so many new vocabs. You can also watch dramas and soap operas, okay? This is for everyday speech. Listen to how normal people speak. A real problem for many students is that they try too hard to always sound formal, like they're speaking like a textbook, right? Like an AI generated textbook or a Google Translate, because they never use normal English. So start watching a good American comedy, start watching a British soap opera or drama. Listen to how normal people speak every day and make note of what you hear. This is going to definitely help you. The more you listen, the more you can speak. Okay. The more content you have in your brain, the easier it becomes. In speaking part 3, you must show the examiner that you can use critical thinking. That means seeing different topics from different perspectives. Okay. That means you need to be able to give opinions about different ideas. For example, does a student study best overseas or in their home country? Right? Should the government pay for healthcare, hospitals, doctors, fully, or should people pay for their own healthcare? All right. So here in Sweden, healthcare is very cheap. The government pays a lot of money for healthcare. It doesn't cost very much money. If you're really sick and you need to go to hospital, you won't lose, too much of your money. You pay a little bit, but not too much. In the United States, of course, if you get sick without insurance, it can take all of your money. And a topic in IELTS speaking part 3 will be, should it be like the Swedish system where you pay little when you're sick, or the American system? You must also be able to tell the examiner, this is true, of course, but in Sweden, people pay more than 40% tax. Tax is very high in Sweden, where I live. Over 40% of your salary, your income, goes to tax. In America, it's only about 20%. So pay more tax, free healthcare, free transport, or pay less tax, but then pay everything yourself. You must be able to show the examiner that you can think about modern topics like this. And it says here in my book, there is no right or wrong answer. It's just your ideas. The examiner is only going to look at how you express your opinion. There is no wrong answer. The examiner does not grade your opinion. They only grade how you express your ideas. Does that make sense? So the examiner does not care which system you think is better, free healthcare or low taxes. They just want to hear you explain your ideas. So don't worry, the examiner will never tell you that you're wrong. They'll just ask you for examples. They'll ask you to explain how you think. And this is how they will grade you on the content of what you say, the quality of your speech, like how do you sound when you speak, your pronunciation, your fluency, and then, of course, your vocabulary and your grammar. Okay, so let's scroll down. Here we have, on my screen share, an example of a part 3 question. Do you think governments should provide free public transport 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Wow. Brainstorm your ideas. I agree. Free public transport, convenient, reduces traffic, reduces accidents, creates jobs for people, and reduces pollution. I disagree. Public transport can be unsafe late at night. It can be very expensive, high taxes, like Sweden, right? The routes are not always convenient. It's great for big cities, but not so good for small cities, right? And the government has to focus on other areas, education, right? The environment, other healthcare, other topics. So you need to be able to express your ideas. And here's an example for you. Have a look, guys. If I choose to agree, here we go. Miss Ian, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, great. You guys, Miss Ian is one of my old students from a couple of years ago, and she scored band 8 in my classes. So I'm very happy to invite you, Miss Ian, to read the example for us, could you? If I
Yeah,
choose to
sure.
agree.
Okay. What are my thoughts? Absolutely. I think this is a fantastic idea with several benefits to the community. Why do you think that? Because this creates an opportunity to reduce traffic congestion during peak hours, which in turn would benefit the environment. It would be accessible to everyone and create jobs also. What is an example? For example, when the BTS opened in Bangkok, the traffic decreased significantly, and the citizens reported that they could get to work and school on time. Furthermore, the air pollution decreased considerably.
Mhm.
How could it be better? I'm really excited for the metro to open in Ho Chi Minh City, and I can travel stress-free to work or school.
Exactly. So this book was actually written in 2023 or 24, just before the Ho Chi Minh City subway system, metro system opened, as you can see. So in part 3 speaking, you must answer the question, give your opinion, explain your opinion, and then give an example. The BTS in Bangkok, the Bangkok transit system. Sometimes it's called the Sky Train. All right. And then you also give a personal example here. The metro opened in Ho Chi Minh City. All right. So giving examples will boost your content score. Giving real life examples is really useful. Now, one student said, what if I don't know the topic? Well, this is the thing. I remember with my students, we watched a video on the Bangkok transit system, the Sky Train, the subway system, and there's lots of news articles in VN Express about the Bangkok subway and how the Ho Chi Minh City subway, is learning some ideas from Bangkok. Now, the Bangkok subway is quite big, and there's lots of news you can read to get ideas. If you really don't know the answer to a question, the best thing to do is ask the examiner to rephrase the question. That means repeat the question using different words. If you really don't know the answer to a question, You can say, I'm so sorry, I don't know much about transport. Please, can I have another question? Now, you can do this 1 or 2 times, but if you do it more than 1 or 2 times, then your score will definitely go down because it looks as if you are waiting for the right question. So my advice is documentaries every day, newspaper every day, learn a little bit about many topics. Wikipedia, right? Wikipedia. Read in English every day. Learn English through the subject instead of trying to learn English. This is how you learn new vocabulary, okay? I promise, all right? Don't learn English. Learn about the world through English. It's the best way. At my international school here in Sweden, we have students from 36 countries. We don't teach English at all. We don't have English. We have English literature, but we don't teach ESL at all in my school. Obviously, it's an international school in Sweden. English is the language we use. We teach geography, history, mathematics, chemistry, economics, sociology. We teach lots of subjects, and the language is English. This is how our students learn their English, through the subject. All right. And then another example is if I disagree. As I said, the examiner does not care if you agree or disagree. He or she only cares how you express your ideas. All right, guys, that's very important to learn. Now, one student said, how many questions will I have? Well, in a typical part 3 speaking, it's 5 minutes long. It's 5 minutes long, a total of 5 minutes long. And that means you're going to get maybe 4 to 5 questions. Part 3 speaking questions are typically around 45 seconds to 60 seconds response time. The examiner will speak around 20% of the time. You will speak around 80% of the time. In part 3 speaking, the examiner is allowed to ask for follow-up questions. They are allowed to ask you for examples. They are even allowed to disagree with your opinion and ask you to give reasons. So in part 3 speaking, the examiner does interact with you. It's a live conversation. It's different from part 1 and 2, where the examiner is quite passive. So as we say, in part 3 speaking, if the examiner is quite challenging, they ask many questions, they ask you for examples, they challenge your ideas, please don't be sad, because we know that when the examiner is more active, when they ask more questions, when they challenge your ideas, it's because they think you have a high band score. Strong examiner, tough examiner, high band score. Passive examiner, weak examiner, low band score. So if you're a student who says, oh, teacher, I'm scared of the examiner, so tough in part 3, don't worry. It means band 7, band 7.5. It means you are impressing the examiner. All right, guys? It's not personal. They are just testing your limit. That's all they're doing. All right, guys? Just so you know, 4 or 5 questions in about 5 minutes. Examiner speaks 15 or 20 seconds. You speak 45 to 60 seconds per question. All right, guys? Now let's go down here. Sadly, when we have 99 students in the room, as we do, we can't really do any practice. It's impractical. In a regular KTDC online class, we have perhaps 12 students in the class, and then we break off into groups of 2 or 3, and we do practice discussion, practice speaking, 8 or 10 minutes at a time in a 2-hour class. So you guys get loads of practice in a real IELTS class. But as I said, there will only be perhaps 12 students in the room. And so everybody interacts a great deal. In today's workshop, 99 people plus me. So it's going to be a little bit passive, but just so you know, this is just a workshop, guys. It's a lot less interactive than a typical class, okay? And if you guys have attended my classes, I can see a few names here of people who attended my classes. They know that the online and offline classes are very interactive. You will be expected to do a lot of participation and speaking, and I will call on your name regularly in the class. So the different types of part 3 speaking, guys: giving and supporting opinions, the basic type of part 3 speaking. Can you express your opinion? For example, let's have a look. Have video games had any positive effects on child development? Giving your opinion. You're expected to be able to agree or disagree and support your claims, giving examples, giving evidence. Okay, and we provide you with an example here, as you can see. And then this, in the class, we also cover various topics, common topics, food, diet, and healthcare, as you can see. All right. The second type of speaking part 3 is agree, disagree. And this is when you must express a clear side. All right. For example, do you agree that teenagers care too much about fashion nowadays? Right. Agree, disagree. Some people think fast food should be highly taxed and regulated. Do you agree? Okay. The third type, and here's the education topic. Yeah. The third type is called advantages, disadvantages. This is what we call a two-sided question. You must think about the advantage, the good side, and the disadvantage, the bad side. For example, number 3, tell me about some benefits and drawbacks of a child learning a musical instrument. This is where you must look at two opposite viewpoints and show critical thinking about the same topic. All right, guys? The next type of question, and here's our new topic, town and country, living and city. The next type of topic is evaluating two different opinions, talking about which types of people have different types of opinion. For example, why are there many people in society who prefer to do sports in their free time, while there are others who would rather go shopping? You must talk about those types of people. All right? You must talk about, is there a difference between, males and females, older people, younger people, people in the city, people in the countryside? All right? And let's go here. You'll see we give you an example of this question type. And then going down here, pardon me, just so you know, guys, in this particular class, speaking and writing, we focus on one type of part 3 speaking each week. So you will have around 1 hour for each type of part 3 speaking. Of course, we also do part 2 speaking and part 1 speaking. So we spend about 6 weeks on part 3 speaking, each week, 1 whole hour on each type of part 3 speaking. Our next topic is travel and transport, which is a very common IELTS topic. You can see some of the questions about travel. Number 8, do the advantages of ecotourism outweigh the disadvantages? And number 9, why do some people choose to immigrate to other countries? Great topic. The next question type is called expressing importance and priority, how important something is. For example, what are the most important things to bear in mind if you're planning an international trip, an overseas trip? Or what environmental concerns today should be addressed most urgently? All right, guys? And again, we show you exactly how to answer this type of question. As I said earlier, the student who knows the test, the student who knows exactly what is expected in each part of the test, these are the band score 8.5 students that you see, the famous students on the KTDC website. It's the students who know the test. So, for example, in the type of question expressing importance and priority, we have very clear language steps. Step 1, use importance phrases. Step 2, compare. Step 3, explain why something is important. And we give you an example. It's really important that you understand how to address each type of question. As we say, at KTDC, we don't teach English, we train you to take the IELTS test. It is test preparation. It's not an English class. There are other places that teach just English, English conversation, ESL, English as a second language. KTDC is 100% pure preparation for the IELTS test. All right. And before I came to Vietnam, I worked in South Korea. South Korea and Japan are famous countries. They invented the concept of test preparation. It's been going on for many, many, many years. South Korea and Japan, 40, 50 years. Students attend test preparation for TOEFL, for SAT. They learn how to take the test. So KTDC is like Vietnam's version of test prep center. 100% focus on how we take the test correctly. All right, guys, just so you know, it's different from learning English. And then we go down to our next question type. And you can see here, yes, so sorry. Here we go. The next question type is called future predictions. Making predictions for the future, speculating, a very common question type in IELTS Part 3. Example. Oh, here I have another student coming in. Example. Describe some of the changes in education you think will take place in the next 20 years. Or, how will commuting to work in your city change in the next 2 decades? So if you talk about Ho Chi Minh City, you can talk about the development of the subway system, the Sky Train. You can talk about, what's happening in Hanoi, I think. They're trying to remove all motorbikes and cars from the city centre. Could that happen in Ho Chi Minh City? Maybe. They have it in Singapore. They have it in London already. No private cars in the centre, just public transport, right? So show your knowledge. Read about geography. Read about different cities in the world. Watch documentaries, right? Learn about the traffic system in Singapore. It's actually interesting, and this is how you learn the vocab. And you can see we've provided you with exactly the correct steps for this type of question and 3 examples of how to answer those questions. So it's very specific. You do the English outside the class. Learn in English every day. Use English every day. Go out with your friends. Practice English. We will teach you the topics and how to take the test correctly. That's the deal for a high band score in IELTS. And you can see all the supporting pages here, expressions that you can use to talk about different levels of priority. And then the final question type for speaking part 3 is the famous problem and solution. Discuss problems and offer solutions, or talk about causes and effects of problems and solutions. For example, the problem of drugs, illegal drugs, on the streets of big cities in the world. How to deal with this problem. Why is it a problem? Or the problem of crime, or problems in the education system, or problems in the economy and how to solve these problems. Again, you must be able to show the examiner that you have some knowledge about these topics and express your ideas. Again, to say, you do not need to be an expert about every topic in the world. You do not need this. Cambridge University says for IELTS, you just need high school level education. So they expect that you have completed high school, that you have some knowledge about geography, history, economics, different topics at the high school level. And then they expect that you can use English to talk about these topics. So you don't need to be specialists. You don't need to, be a graduate at university in any one particular subject. You just need high school level knowledge, but good English to support it. That's what IELTS expect. If you feel that you don't have any subject knowledge, time to start listening and reading English every single day. And that will really, really help you. All right, guys? Miss Ian, can I ask you a question as you joined our class today?
Yep.
When you took the IELTS speaking test, how did you learn about different topics that appear on the test?
I read the news and
Read the news, okay.
yeah, just watch a lot of YouTube videos about different topics so that I can have a general understanding of them.
Exactly. And the examiner doesn't expect you to be an expert in history or an expert about transport systems, but showing the examiner that you are interested in other parts of the world, that you have an international mindset and have some knowledge in different topics, this will really, really help you. But never do they expect you to be an absolute expert. All right. But I think as you live in Vietnam, your neighboring countries like Thailand, for example, or Singapore in Southeast Asia, close countries, take an interest, give examples. Example about the Bangkok SkyTrain system. Talk about, for example, how it works in Singapore. Show some interest in other countries. And if you like, give examples from your own country as well. All right, as we say, the IELTS is the International English Language Testing System. It's an international test. It's not a test only for one country. So the examiner does expect that you can give international ideas and international examples. All right, guys. So here's the example scrolling down, proposing solutions. We provide you with exact information, vocab, and phrases that you can use, and lots of example questions here for this type of question. So let me stop screen sharing. We had, in part 3 speaking, giving and supporting opinions, agree, disagree, advantage, disadvantage, evaluating the opinions of others, expressing priority and importance, making predictions for the future, and problem solution. Now, how do I know this? Because I'm an IELTS teacher. Obviously, I am expert in all the parts of IELTS, the format, the timing, how many seconds or minutes you have for each part of the test. So my job is to make sure that my students can go away from the class and they know the test really well. And I'm not kidding. As I said, I had low level or intermediate students who were in the pre-IELTS or level 1, and some of those exceptional students who learned the test. They learned every question type. They learned the scoring system, the timing, how to prepare part 2 speaking correctly. They learned the format of part 1 speaking. Those are the students you see who do very well. They outperform their English level. So that means a middle level student can achieve a 7 or 7.5. A high level student can get an 8 or 8.5. Even there have been some speaking band 9s of my students from high level, and they didn't just have good English, they learned the IELTS system. Now, guys, the time is already 5 o'clock in Sweden, I guess 10 p.m. in Ho Chi Minh City. I did promise you guys I'm going to add 5 minutes on because we had lots of students zooming in, coming in a little bit late, and we had a limit of 99 students. So let me just add a few moments extra for you guys. I'll keep going, let's say 10 more minutes, okay, guys? I'll add a bit of extra time for you guys just so I can get through your questions. We do have a lot of people in this class. So Ruby says, teacher, I do not know how to boost the coherence score by connecting ideas. Okay, well, Miss Ruby, we will teach you about coherence or organization in both writing and speaking. We'll show you the format of each question time, how to connect ideas. It does come by learning each question type one by one and practicing those, okay? That's the purpose of our class. Now, this is a workshop, just 1 hour. In a typical course like speaking and writing, we spend lots of time on each question type and we practice it thoroughly in breakout rooms. You guys will have 8 or 10 minutes each time for practice with your partner, and then you'll have live feedback from your teacher. So it does take some learning. Samsung SMG780G says, recommend some grammar books for you. Okay, my answer is that we will never ever recommend a grammar book at KTDC. Learning grammar will actually make your score lower. It sounds crazy. If you're in KTDC IELTS and you're good enough to join KTDC IELTS, even the lowest level, our foundation band score 4 level, your basic grammar is good enough. Now, I know some Vietnamese school focus on teaching grammar rules, memorizing vocabulary, but we don't do that at KTDC. We teach you grammar through English. So when you learn, do a reading passage, for example, we will provide you with some phrases, with some examples of what's being used in the context of the whole passage. You learn grammar simply by reading every day. You learn the patterns and the usage. You learn grammar by listening every single day and by watching the subtitles in English. Learning grammar rules means that you only memorize the rule, you don't know how to use it. Now, is grammar important for very low level, entry level learners? Yes, of course. When you first begin a new language, you need to know the basic grammar: subject, verb, object, past simple tense, present simple tense, prepositions. You need the basic building blocks of grammar to start, of course. But when you're studying IELTS, even the lowest level, foundation IELTS level, which is around band score 4, you have enough information about English to start going. Think of it like a barbecue, right? A barbecue where you cook your meat. When you make your barbecue at home, you need enough hot coals to start the fire so it's hot enough to cook. Once you have 4 or 5 hot coals in your barbecue, then it's strong enough, it's hot enough that you don't need to try anymore. You can just add extra fuel. But the first 4 or 5 coals, they require special help to warm up, to become hot. After you have the 4 or 5 coals, it's easy. The fire will continue burning and burning and burning. You just add fuel, add more coals. Same with English, same with any language. Once you have the basic grammar, the basic building blocks, you learn grammar automatically simply by using the language. Again, I've worked at Royal International School in Ho Chi Minh City. I worked at Asia Pacific International School in South Korea. Now I work for International High School, Gothenburg. We don't teach any grammar at all. We do zero grammar. Our students learn grammar by learning subjects. And if a student asks me to explain something in grammar, of course, I'll help them. But grammar books, that's how we taught English 100 years ago. In 2026, you learn by using. I have 2 young sons, and they are half Vietnamese, half British. We live in Sweden. My elder son, Danny, he's learning Swedish now. He doesn't learn Swedish grammar. He just reads storybooks in Swedish. He listens to Swedish from his teacher. His grammar is already really good. Same with his Vietnamese, same with his English. We simply ask our students to use the language. No need for grammar books, okay? Miss Anne says, for part 3 speaking courses, I don't have any knowledge or questions. Again, tell the examiner that you don't know the topic and make sure that you're listening to English and reading English every day. It's so important, guys. Now I'm going to scroll down for a few more topics. Tuan says, general social knowledge. Let's have a look here. Yes, and Miss Een says, I think the answer is quite formal. That's the example I gave earlier. Yes, correct. Speaking part 3 is formal, academic, university level English. It's the English that you use in a university seminar or tutorial. Part 1, informal. Part 2, semi-formal. Part 3, formal, high-level, academic discussion English. It's exactly the same as writing language, Miss In. I'm not sure if it's Miss In or the other Miss In, but your question anyway. And okay, Miss Lou says, can I ask for a document? Sadly, we cannot share our speaking and writing book with you. That is exclusively for our paying students. This is only a workshop. It's completely free. And I've done, as I said, 4 or 5 of these workshops in the last 2 months or so. So we're not going to share any documents with you other than our screenshots. But we really want you guys to take an entrance test, check your level, and come and join one of our classes, okay? But all the advice I've given, of course, is for you to make the most of. And I hope you'll come and join one of our classes offline at KTDC Centre in District 1. And most of our teachers are current or former IELTS examiners. And me, KTDC International, overseas for online learning. And I'm always here for you guys. Okay, let's have a look here. Yes, I can see people answering about our courses here. Sutart Little says, how do we retain information from newspapers and magazines? Okay, you don't need to actively retain it. You just need to do it every day. The more you read a good magazine, for example, Time magazine, Newsweek magazine, VN Express International, the New Scientist magazine, lots of different magazines about all kinds of topics. Simply by reading day by day by day, casually, you will automatically retain the vocab through repetition. All right. To increase from 5.5 to 6.5, generally speaking, that will take you, it depends on your level and ability, 3 months to 6 months to improve from 5.5 to 6.5, studying part-time, studying 3 or 4 hours per week. Let's have a look here. And finally, Miss Tran says, teacher, I've learned about question types and strategies. I practice with AI. Very good, Miss Tran. You can practice with, I do recommend Gemini Pro, or just Gemini is fine, which is, you need your Google account for this. On your smartphone or your tablet or your computer, you can speak to Gemini. It's a really good AI, and it can even, do some practice with you. Also, I'm very proud to say KTDC has its own AI system that you can interact with, which is available for our students. And Gemini is a good substitute. Or you can use Grok, of course, which is Elon Musk's AI system. You can install Grok on your computer or your phone. It's part of the X system, and Grok is also a lot of fun to talk to. And Tran says, I practice with AI. When I took a mock test, I just panic and forget the structures. Okay, so it comes from practice, Miss Tran. In my class and the class of my colleagues, you'll do tons and tons of practice of these formats, so it becomes second nature. All right, so you do need to practice with other people, other Vietnamese candidates, and me, of course. And if you have a foreign friend, practice with them too. Practice with them too, guys. You need to practice the format as much as possible until it becomes second nature. We call it muscle memory, right? When you're on your computer, your fingers know where to go. When you're on your motorbike, you know exactly what to do without thinking. It's called muscle memory. It means that you do without thinking. It's like Top Gun Maverick. Don't think, just do. Right? So with practice, it becomes automatic. It's muscle memory. All right, guys, thank you for all of your amazing questions. I've tried to give as much information. Generally, this is a very mixed audience. I see we have low level, mid level, high level. I have new students, former students in this room. And so I tried to make it suitable for everybody. But as I said, my name is Andy Robertson. I'm proud to say I'm the longest serving teacher at KTDC, over 12 years. And I'm very happy to provide you guys with online learning. But of course, if you want to come to KTDC Centre, where it all started, you can go to Ho Chi Minh City District 1, where we have lots of former and current examiners ready to help you. And they are just as committed as I am, and they will see you in the classroom as well. And thank you from admin KTDC giving a schedule here. That's really helpful. And let me see any more questions here. Yeah, yes, thank you, Miss Ruby, for your sharing as well. Thank you, Miss Tran. And thank you for KTDC admin. Those guys at the admin KTDC customer service, they're ready to help you. Guys, we're not a big center. We have KTDC Center, but I want to tell you that the teachers at KTDC have been there for many, many years. I've been there the longest, over 12 years, but lots of my colleagues have been there 10 years, like Mr. Hamish, Mr. Aaron, and even some of our newer teachers have been there 5 or 6 years. So you have very experienced teachers at KTDC who can help you along with IELTS. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Katie. Great to talk to you too, guys. I overran, but I'm trusting that that's okay for you. We're actually 30 minutes over 10 now, so it must be quite late in Ho Chi Minh City. I really want to say thank you so much for your time and staying up late with me. And thank you for being patient at the beginning when we had to like delay a few minutes because people were coming in late. It always happens, with a big workshop. So thank you for your flexibility and for your patience. And I wish you an extremely happy Wednesday. In Sweden, we call Wednesday is called Little Saturday. It's called Lilla Lördag. So Swedish people, they treat Wednesday as the midweek. You have less of the week in front of you than behind you. So Swedish people are very happy on Wednesday. It's called Little Saturday in Sweden. So today is my little Saturday here in Sweden. And I wish you a happy evening and see you soon. All right, guys? Hope to see you in my class. Bye. Bye, everybody.